Hey everybody, and welcome to the FFL Solidity team call. My name is Marisa Maggio. Today is October 5th of 2023. So we are officially going into the Family First Life week 2 of 4 of October. So super excited for that. But we do have a very special guest on with us today, integrity partner and president of FFL Coast to Coast and a great mentor of mine. We have Trey Honeycutt on with us today. Trey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for being on with us. I know that you always can kind of like take it and run with it. And really what I wanted you to talk to us about today, Trey, was, warm market recruiting, kind of the value in that. And really as an integrity partner, how you've seen that kind of play out over time in your favor or, out of your favor, but I would probably say in your favor. So talk to us a little bit about that, if you
Yeah,
don't mind.
yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to jump on the Solidity call. You guys are my favorite. Don't tell everyone else. Um, but before the call started, Heather got on and said, "Hi, my beautiful friend," and I was like, "Hello." I don't think she was talking to you. So, um,
That's
yeah,
okay.
thanks for having me. This is really warm market recruiting. I could talk about all day long for a number of different reasons. But I think the first thing I would say about it is it's the easiest place for you to start building the business. And it's the least challenging place to start building the business. A lot of the challenges that you run into when you start developing an agency, um, they're a lot easier to navigate when it's people that you already have a relationship with. The hardest part about this business is building new relationships while you're maintaining the old ones. So in the beginning, if you already have relationships with the people that you recruit into your agency, it takes a tremendous load off of you to start. Um, I think what happens is people get too addicted to the results and they want the results too quickly. The reality in this is the results come last, but because of the sales aspect of this business, the fact that I could go sell insurance and get paid tomorrow, the tendency is to think that the agency part of that works that way too, and it really doesn't. It's a process. Sometimes you get people that run right away, and some of the best people you have will people be people that emerge 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half into it. Why it's like that, I really don't know. I just know it works like that for everybody. And a reason why a lot of people never get those results is because they don't stick around long enough. That's literally what it is. Like if you make a decision to do this for a year and consistently share FFL with people, and a lot of times, like everybody hears my training and they go, well, Trey just talks about taking 2 people a day from not knowing to knowing. That's the training to get you to start. That's to get you to start. Is there more to it than that? Yes, there's more to it. But it's the training to get you to start is not the same training that gets you to VP or board member or executive board member or integrity partner. It's just like when you start out selling. Your goal should be to help 15 families a month. You can help 15 families a month to 20 families a month out of sheer grit. Just straight up, like I run enough appointments, I actually did the work, and this is how it worked out, even with extended draft dates, even with cancellations, even with not issuing policies or, you know, writing America on people with cancer that get declined because you don't know what you're doing. All that stuff included, you can help 15 to 20 families a month just by sheer running of the numbers. Once you get to that point, there's more training that's involved. If you have a conversation with Heather or Rami or Marisa when you're helping 20 families a month, they can tell you the exact same thing they told you when you were helping 0 families a month, and you will hear something completely different. Because what changed? You changed. So the training to get you to start is not the training that gets you to the end of the rainbow. It's just you go as far as you can see at this, and then once you get there, you can see further. So where should you start? You should start with people that you know. They're the easiest ones to work with. Um, It's the most pleasurable experience. You already have a relationship with them. You already care whether or not they succeed at it. It will help you sell more insurance. The number one reason why you should recruit your warm market is because you will sell more insurance. You can't tell your cousin to go dial on a Saturday morning because he doesn't have enough appointments and you watch Netflix. You can't do it. Even if you think you can, he'll call you out on it in a way that nobody else can call you out of it on it, and you'll dial with them. It's a tool to help you write more. That's why everybody should recruit right away. The other thing is there's a certain amount of time, effort, and energy that is involved with helping people in the beginning of this business. One of the things I always told people recruiting cold market was if you get a call from Bob and it's the third time Bob called you and you already don't want to talk to Bob, then you should have never recruited Bob. If it's your cousin, you'll probably talk to him on the third time. Like you're not going to run into those same emotions. It's not as much of a struggle to find the person that you actually want to spend the time with and listen to the same questions that all new agents ask over and over and over and over and over again when you're losing your patience. It's really easy to lose your patience with people you don't know. So there's a part of the business where when it's warm market, you want to help the people, you don't mind spending time with them, they urge you to do better, you help them do better. It's like a workout partner. I've consistently gone to the gym 4 to 7 times a week for a year and 3 months, like every day. What was the difference, even when I travel? What was the difference between the few years before that when I wouldn't go to the gym? Like, what was the difference? I had somebody at the gym that was waiting on me. I had somebody at the gym that I knew I was going to talk to and hear stories from and find out. So I had a workout partner. So a big part of this business is having a workout partner. When you recruit your warm market, it's easy to make them your workout partner. If I'm getting started and I'm on Maurice's team, who's incredibly busy, and she's running appointments herself, and she's running a big agency, she's doing all these other things. Of course, she's going to have time for me because I just got started. But if you want somebody to have a lot of time for you, go recruit people you know, and then talk about your results in a positive way from day to day. It's an easy way to take the monotony out of it and to keep the days from turning into weeks and months, because that's what happens. The days have a tendency in this to run together, and before you know it, it's like Saturday. And you're like, oh, I was going to dial on Monday. Oh, I forgot all about Thursday. It's Saturday. The electric bill's due. I had a cancellation this week. Like, that's it's really hard to just expand time when it's just you out there floating around. So that's what I would say about war market that I probably don't always say, um, that I think is really important to understand. And if you look at any leaderboard in the company, you'll see it. Like you see it. There's a reason why. Um, you go through any. I've known Stephen Yee since 2008. Like there's a reason why. Like there's a reason why that worked out. Stephen started, he stopped. He started, he stopped again. Like that's the process. The process is the same for everybody. But what happened? We stayed around. We consistently recruited while we were selling insurance. Nothing got in the way of us selling insurance. We sold insurance, but we were consistently taking people from not knowing to knowing, locking arms with the ones that wanted to do it, caring more about their success than they may have cared about their success, believing in people when they didn't believe in themselves. Always being a voice of reason, always answer the phone, always being engaged. People say that's exhausting. It's it's less exhausting to do it that way, actually. And I'll tell you one of the big challenges that people have. This is why people don't do it. They say, I don't sell enough or I'm not consistent enough. The first thing I tell folks is there is no such thing as an inconsistent person. Inconsistent people do not exist. You are extremely consistent. You just consistently watch TV and waste time instead of dialing and running appointments. You're consistently doing something. It's not the consistency that is the problem. Does that make sense? Like I should get up earlier. I'm just inconsistent. No, you're consistent at sleeping in. You're already consistent. It's not the consistency that is the issue. It's the reason. One good reason will overcome 1,000 excuses. So the thing you got to understand as you build this is the reason that gets you to start is not the reason that takes you from Heather helping 20 families to Heather helping 60 families. There was a different reason. It might have looked the same on the surface, but there was a different motivation at some point where she said, okay, I'm doing this. Now I got to get to this level. Re-engaging yourself and figuring out what that reason is from time to time is like the crucial part of getting this to go. Like when I started, my reason was to keep my kids at the Christian school where they go and to make sure that we could pay our electric bill on time. That was like somebody said, Trey, write down your goal. Stop getting red notices on my electric bill and make sure the kids can keep going to Victor Valley Christian. That was my goal. That's all I had. I didn't have a bigger dream than that. I didn't really expect much more of it than that. But the first month, I remember I netted like, you know, enough money to do all those things. And I was like, wow, I failed most of the time. I wonder if I could double that. And then I got some different reasons, and then as I went along, I re-engaged what the reason was, and I consistently reminded myself of it. And then I would ask myself, what things can I do to get me closer to where I want to go than where I am now? What are the things I can consistently do to get me closer to those things? And if that reason was strong enough, it would compel me to do it. Like the number one reason for people to lose weight in America is a heart attack. It's not how they look. Somebody has a heart attack, they live, they lose 60 pounds. I have a friend that's a cardiologist. This is a quote from my friend. He'll tell you. Now I'm working on it. I don't want to have a heart attack and lose 60 pounds, but it's a different, the number one reason to quit smoking is heart attack, stroke. That's why people do it. That's what happens. Or they get cancer and they're like, hey, I got cancer, we'll quit smoking now. So one good reason will overcome 1,000 excuses. You just got to be clear about what it is. And it needs to be your reason, not somebody else's reason. The thing that I struggled with for such a long time was I would take somebody else's motivation of where I thought that I should be or where they thought I should be, and I would adapt that as my reason when that really wasn't my reason. Like for years, people would put this guilt trip on me that my wife didn't stay home and raise the kids. Like I was a bad husband because my wife didn't stay home and raise the kids. Because we were younger in our marriage, I worked at night, so I was with the kids during the day, and my wife worked during the day. So we wouldn't see each other very much, but I was at home with the kids. I changed their diapers and did all stuff, kept the house clean, all that stuff, and I would work at night. And then people are like putting this guilt trip on me like I was not a man because my wife had a job. And then one day, our garage broke. And the time it had broke before, it cost us like $230 to have the guy come out. And all he did was like beat the heck out of the rails and like yank on it. And then when he pushed the button, it went up and down, and he was like, it's good. And it took him like 6 minutes. And I was like, this is unbelievable. And he took my 200 some odd bucks. I was just like, that kind of sucks, right? You could have at least acted like there was more to it. So the garage breaks, and me and Jure go out there. We're going to fix this bad boy. So we go out there, and we proceeded. We've been married over 10 years, and we got in the worst fight we've ever gotten into, and we almost got divorced. And what I realized was me and my wife can't work together like that. She has to have a job. If my wife won the lottery, she would still teach first grade. It's what she does. That's one of the reasons why I married her. Why am I running around with this motivation that is not my motivation? We could win the lotto and she would go to school the next day and buy a bunch more stuff for her classroom. That's what she would do. I became an integrity partner. She never even thought of the idea of not being a school teacher, which, by the way, another part of the story, if any of you come from an educational background. So during COVID, I know I'm getting off track, but this just lends to the topic. So during COVID, um, my wife had to teach first graders on Zoom, and up until then, I think I'm pretty understanding of what goes on day to day in a US classroom for first graders. But in my opinion, whether I realized it was my opinion or not, I thought that what my wife actually did was just babysit kids. And I felt bad saying that now because that sounds really bad. But I thought they're first graders. Like when I was in first grade, they like gave us snacks and we watched movies and stuff. We had nap time still, which I went to Mississippi public school. So maybe it's different there. But but that's how I thought it was. And then she gets on Zoom and starts teaching these humans how to read. And it blew my mind. It like changed my whole. I can't even hardly talk about it without crying. Like my wife teaches people how to read. I mean, what greater purpose in life is there than that? You know, if we teach them how to read, they can learn all the rest of the stuff because all the stuff's in books. They just go get the book and read it. Unbelievable. So anyway, so your why is definitely going to change over time. And the last thing I'll say, because I think you asked me like one question and I just went off, but if I could get everybody to understand one thing, like the hardest part of this in every way, no matter where you're at in the business, is you look at other people and you will say to yourself, I should be here. I'm here, but I should be. Like that's the biggest trap of the whole thing. It Everybody starts at a different place, but everybody can arrive at the finish line. But what you bring to the starting line is different for everyone. And so to try to compare yourself constantly, it didn't used to be this bad until like social media. And now social media, you get on social media, you think everybody's killing it all the time. They never have a bad day. They never make any mistakes. Everything's great. Like they don't they don't have no sales. I remember this one time, um, just to stay on topic. So the thing is you can't grow from where you think you should be. You can only grow from where you actually are. So what you need to ask yourself is where am I? Where do I want to go? And what am I willing to give up in order to get that? And why is that important to me? Like this is the continual conversation. Like the continual conversation. And what a lot of times happens is I see people engage in activity and they just think, oh, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the work. But if you don't have any of those other things, like why am I doing it? Where am I going? What am I willing to give up? You haven't figured that stuff out. It's just like you're checking boxes and kind of going through the motions. Now, if you're doing that and you're making sales, now some people go, oh my God, he's right. Like he unraveled my whole life. I don't even know what my purpose is anymore. I'm going to go meditate for 4 weeks. Like I'm not saying do that. Like, meditate while you're really busy. It's important to stay really busy the whole time. But the question you should be asking is, where am I? Where do I want to go? What do I have to do to get to where I want to go? What are a few things I can do every single day? And what am I willing to give up in order to engage in those activities? Because more than 50% of getting what you want literally is just knowing what it is you have to give up. And, immediately when I say that, people are like, well, I got to give up spending so much time on social media instead of dialing, or I got to give up, they'll come up with activity type things. And sometimes it's an attitude type thing. Sometimes it's spending time with the wrong people and letting them suck hours out of your day. Like we all have people like that. And people go, well, is Trey saying that, it's one of these association talks? Like that person that's sucking the life out of me, that's my spouse. I should get a divorce. I'm not telling anybody to get a divorce. If you think it's your spouse's fault, go to work. It's you. It's not your spouse. I'm not saying that. But but what I am saying is the ones you have a choice to spend time with, instead of spending a day with them, spend a couple hours. Instead of spending a couple hours, spend a few minutes. And then measure this business in terms of seasons. Like nothing's permanent. Like I remember times in the business where I was doing 80 hours a week. Like I was working hard, 80 hours a week. There's times like that. Does some people do 80 hours a week for like 17 years? I suppose they do. But for me, it was just like a period of time. And then there was a rest period from that period of time. Like it wasn't just eight to faint 7 days a week all the time for the rest of my life with no light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm just going to be on this treadmill running to oblivion, going nowhere fast. Like it was never, I always understood that everything was temporary. It's all temporary. There's going to be a time where you're going to spend more time on the phone dialing the leads to get the appointments than you normally would, and you're not going to enjoy it. And then there's going to be times where it's like the most gratifying thing you could ever do, and you love every minute of it. But none of it's permanent, right? So don't make permanent decisions off temporary emotions, if that makes sense. That's a trap. People will do that. I should be in this place. I'm not in this place. I feel bad about myself. Therefore, I'm not going to dial or buy leads. If if you can avoid those pitfalls and just stick to the activity, figure out where you want to go, few things you need to do every day to get there, what you need to give up, and continually remind yourself of the reasons. What tends to happen is what's hard to do now will become hard for you not to do. What takes a ton of time for you to do now you'll be able to do in a lot less time, and it won't even feel like you're spending time doing it. There comes a time where it's like that, where you pass the monkey from this being like a burden to this not actually being that difficult. And when that happens, and for some people that happens in a few months, and some people it takes a couple of years. I know people that it takes a couple of years. But when that happens, you can literally write a check every week for what you know you can make just from selling. Like it becomes the most predictable thing, like clockwork. Like if I make this many calls and run this many appointments, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter what they say, doesn't matter what kind of leads, I'm going to submit this and I'll issue this much, and this much of it will stay on the books. And then you can start quantifying the thing. But in the beginning, you can't quantify. In the beginning, it's just you need to ask yourself, am I spending 40 hours a week if you're full time? Am I spending 40 hours a week talking to people about setting appointments to talk to people about insurance and talking to people about insurance? That's it. And in between that, am I taking a couple people a day from not knowing to knowing about FFL? That's pretty much the whole business strategy. What where people miss it though is like this is because you can't see it when it's working. Like when it's not working and when it's working, it looks really similar in the beginning. Like, okay, like Marisa, if you eat McDonald's twice a day, twice today, you're probably not going to have a heart attack and you'll probably still be thin, right? You could go eat two Big Macs, one for lunch, one for dinner, and tomorrow you'll probably lose a couple pounds. Okay. If I eat a Big Mac for breakfast and one for dinner, I'm probably not going to gain any weight tomorrow. If we did that for a week, probably wouldn't see a big difference. If we did it for a month, we might both feel sick a lot, but you may not see a big difference. The scale might not change. If we both did that for a year, if I didn't do it for a year and you did it for a year, your health would dramatically change over the course of a year. It's not one or two cheeseburgers. It's one or two cheeseburgers a day, every day for the next 365 days. Like that'll dramatically impact your health. Like you can't do that. The same thing is true with this. Like there's a difference between brushing your teeth for you brush your teeth, right, Marisa? How often do you brush your teeth?
Twice a day, at least.
You got great teeth. So how long does it take you to brush your teeth?
3 minutes.
How many?
3.
That's amazing. Each time?
Well, yeah, that's how I was taught as a child. My mom was very adamant about me brushing my teeth. 3 minutes is the rule.
So do you sing happy birthday to you like 4 times, or how do you do it? Like how do you measure the time? Or you have a timer?
No, I think at this point, I just in my head, I'm just I wait it out. I just know at this point, but it's approximately 3 minutes.
Well, congratulations. That's good. So so if Marisa brushes her teeth twice a day, that's 6 minutes a day. And then another person, she starts on January 1st doing this, and she does that every day. And she has a dentist appointment the next year on January 1st. But another person on December 31st decides to brush their teeth for 17 hours, but they didn't brush their teeth the rest of the year. Who's going to have a better visit to the dentist? Marisa. Every single time, right? Every single time. So that's what this whole thing is. It's are you consistently doing it? And if you, some of the time, what's going to happen is it's not going to feel like it makes any difference. It's going to feel futile and stupid most of the time. But what's going to happen is you're going to run into a person that has a friend that works at another agency and they know some people, and eventually over the course of months, that'll grow into something. I mean, I can't tell you the times where I wanted to talk to, I made a goal to talk to a couple people a day about FFL and I didn't do it. And then the times when I did do it, and I thought it was going nowhere, but I recruit this one person that comes to the national conference or they go to the meeting in Boston. And then a couple months later, they start making sales and then they recruit their cousin and their cousin knows a bunch of people and it blows up. Like I've seen that happen from the beginning of FFL dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I've seen it happen so many times. And it really just came down to consistently doing it. And that's it. I mean, it's not that deep. The problem is you just don't see the results right away, so it's hard to stay motivated. So you got to get your self-esteem from doing the activity, not from the results. The self-esteem has to come from doing the activity. At the end of the day, if you can say to yourself, did I do what I said I was going to do today? And you can make a habit of saying yes to that, then you'll develop a power mindset. And what that power mindset will do is you'll start saying to yourself, if everybody in my team did what I did today, would it be a successful day? As long as you can say yes, then you've unlocked the code. I mean, you unlock the code to doing this. That's what it is. Because it really comes down to getting a lot of people to do a little bit every day. And as long as you can do it, they'll do what you do, not what you say, and it works. You can mess it up 100 different ways, but that works.
Absolutely. And Trey, I think a lot of the stuff you're saying, it all like ties back together, right? It all ties back to if you stay in the game and you can, fail it out and go through whatever emotions you got to go through in the process of whatever stage you're at in the business, it's going to pan out. It can't not pan out over time, right? And that's
Right.
one thing, that ever since I met you, Trey, like it was just the one message that always stuck with me was like, dude, if you quit now, like, if I quit today, right, which I'm not gonna, right? But if I quit today, it's like, what did I do all that work for? And also, what am I proving to myself? I'm proving I can't do it, which I can. I just need to put the proper time in. And you talked about being inconsistent. You're not inconsistent, you're just consistent in the wrong areas. And I think when we talk about it from that way, it gives it less of a negative view, so to say, and more of a I need to change my consistent patterns to make them align with what I'm trying to, accomplish in that particular time in business. And just for yourself too. I mean, it all ties together. I always say that. Um,
Yes.
and then also getting, your self-esteem from the activity and not the results. Now, Trey, more recently I've been transitioning into, a virtual model and I was in home for, many years. And to be honest, that transition, it's been fun, but it's been a little bit different, right? I'm not used to people, not being open to give the bank. But really what I've been experiencing is exactly what you just said, allowing the self-esteem to come from the activity and not necessarily from the result. Because I know I'm going to work that learning curve. I just got to work it, right? I got to get through it. So you got to keep moving. And then also don't make permanent decisions based off temporary emotions. I think that that's a huge one. We can all get in our heads. Just like Trey said, on Monday, you're going to dial. On Saturday, you're like, what happened on Monday? Right? Like, and the whole week goes by, right? So make sure like you're diligent. You're doing what you say you're going to do. And guys, one thing that I think I made a big mistake in coming into just this business in general was I was like, okay, I have to change everything about my life like tonight, right? Like tonight, I got to change my whole sleep schedule, my eating habits, my workout schedule, how I journal, right? You name it, right? I got to change it. But it's not about that. It's about tweaking and adjusting as you're moving. So it doesn't have to feel like that. So it feels like the changes
Right.
that you want to make, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, Trey, you honestly, you just really answered like 99% of the things that I wanted to ask you because I think it all really does tie back to like stay in the game or get out of the game. Like it's going to be one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you did hit on that I did just want you to kind of, hit on again is you talked about delayed gratification in terms of, recruiting, right? It's not going to be that sale where you're getting paid, the next day, right? Which is amazing. And we're helping that family. But talk to us a little bit about, maybe folks that have been trying to grow, but they're having a little bit of a difficult time doing that. And kind of if you've went through that, how you've, pushed through essentially.
Yeah. Um, here's one thing to focus on that I don't think people focus on enough is it's not how many people you recruit that matters. It's how many people you recruit that actually do something. Um, some way or another, we got into this mode of like just hiring people to hire them. And it was never like that. Like your goal, if you start, should be like you and five writers. That's if you could get five people, Melissa Ellis, she's on the screen. If Melissa Ellis could get five people to write insurance with her in the next 6 months to a year, and they wrote They help 10 to 20 families a month, five people to help 10 to 20 families a month. 10, let's say 10 on the low end. That's 50 families. If her override was 10%, that's an extra $5,000. Like, that's amazing. That's an extra $60,000 a year that pays for someone's college. Like, you're paying your bills by writing insurance. If you could go get five people to write with you, it becomes it becomes like an amazing thing. What if those five help 20 families a month? You know? And then now that's $10,000 with a 10% override. What if your override was 20%? What if you worked your way up with what if you worked your way up the comp plan with personal sales to a 120? And now you hired five people at 90 and they wrote, you know, 100 families a month between the five of them. Um, that's a lot of money passively in overrides with five people. That should be the goal. Like, your goal when you start should be help 20 families and find two people to help 20 families, and now you're a sales manager. Like, it's just those simple building blocks that I would look at. And if you do that long enough, what happens is you realize that if Melissa can do that with five people that she knows, she can teach those five people to find five people. And now in the next year, you start having this compound effect. One thing to keep in mind that I don't think people think about a lot, and maybe they don't even realize, is like, when I met, I used to be Andrew Taylor's admin, but I'd been in the business at FFL for 2 years before I was his admin. I just sold. I wasn't interested in building at all. And when I became his admin, their team was helping 180 families a month, Andrew's whole team. Now, he'd been in the business 2 years here and almost 6 years somewhere else. But I'm going to say he was in the business for 7 years, and they were only helping 180 families a month after 7 years. How how many years have you been in the business, Marisa?
7, actually.
How your team helps how many families a month?
Between three to 400.
So you're better than Andrew Taylor. You were better than Andrew Taylor doing this business. You got to a higher number faster than he did. Yeah, I hope y'all get that. Like, that's probably the biggest thing I can give anybody is like, that's what it really looks like. But for some reason, you know, so and so did it in 6 months, and now everybody's like, 6 months. If I'm not Grand Puba in 6 months, then I'm quitting and I'm going to go sell real estate. Like, no, don't do that. And the other thing is, this thing ebbs and flows. There's ups and downs. But here's the deal. You're constantly getting better with the ups, so the downs don't last as long. That should be how you're thinking. And when it's down, the chips are for you, not against you, because that's when you can take ground and get ahead, because that's when all the weak people quit and then you get their leads. So you need some agents to give their leads to. Like, this was my strategy the whole time. Like, I will survive and live painfully in excruciating agony longer than anybody else. And when they're all gone, then there's plenty of leads for me. I mean, that was my building strategy. I don't know if we're allowed to put that on YouTube, but that's the way I looked at it. And if everybody else, because I didn't have a lot of options. Like, I didn't have options. I don't have a degree. I don't, you know, my last job was a personal trainer at the gym. And when I started insurance, I quit the gym. And when I quit the gym, I quit the gym. You know, like I'm like 80 pounds heavier now than I was then. Like, I can't, who can I go train? It's like the best thing I ever did. I can't drive Uber. I can't see well or hear. I have poor reaction time and I'm distracted a lot. So nobody would ride with me. Um, you know, the last sales job I had, I got fired. I got in a fist fight with two people on the way out, so I couldn't go back there. I just didn't have a lot of other stuff to do. And I think that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, I had to make this work. But the good news is this is fertile ground. Like, it'll work. Like, you can work enough to pay your bills by selling. You can get better. You can ask people questions that are doing it. You can seek out like FFL is an open book. Like everybody will share with you exactly what they're doing. So you can seek out the information and learn from the people that are doing it. And nobody can actually fire you. Like they're gonna make you fire you. You just show up and sell insurance tomorrow. Now, if you steal and like write bad business and stuff, like you can lose your insurance license. I'm not saying that, but like you can have a bad day and like not show up and nobody fires you. You just got to start again tomorrow. That's it's the most amazing thing ever. It's almost unfair, and it's made for bipolar people too. So you, this is this is the truth. Like this is the only place where I could actually keep a job because I go through these major highs, major lows. So shoot, this is like the best thing ever happened to me. If y'all can relate, this is it. Just don't quit. And if you have a bad day, don't go drown your sorrows at Chick-fil-A. Um, just because it's chicken, there's a lot of calories in it. you know. So anyway, I'm sorry I got off track a little, but thanks for putting up with
No,
me.
that was perfect. I think that was really helpful. And it just like you said, it comes back to I love how you said like it's not about like let's recruit every single person. It's about like, hey, like let's start somewhere. And there's nothing more powerful, in my personal opinion, than when you get started and you have five people running with you. Like you guys are running fast together, like really fast. And
Right.
like that's exciting stuff. And that, it feeds off of the energy. Like your whole group, it's inevitable that it feeds off the energy. So like that's a key piece there. It's not hire everybody, it's hire the people that I feel like would be a good fit for me and for my group, right? And then Trey, just to kind of wrap the call up, because you did an awesome job and I appreciate you, but going into the autumn sales conferences, talk to us a little bit about like even before you were an integrity partner, right? Because it's hard for some people to picture you not being an integrity partner. But even before that, Trey, how important was it for you to get to these events and how have they helped you kind of go through your business?
Yeah. Um, the biggest stumbling block when people build is they think that they got to teach them stuff. So that's why they don't do it. They're like, I'm having a hard time selling right now, so how am I going to teach somebody else how to do it? Well, my whole philosophy was like, let's go to the training. Like, let's go learn. Not you go learn, let's go learn. I didn't have to be the best one to start. Like we can learn together. So the number one skill is just getting good at getting butts and seats and getting them in front of the training in spite of you. Like where people mess it up is they make it all about them and then they have like you know, their little puppets or whatever, or like their little hens, they're trying to hatch them. And it's just my training, my way, this and that. If you can get that out of your vocabulary and just like, hey, let's go to the training, let's go to Boston or whatever you call that city, Natick or Natick or Nordic or I don't know what the name of the city is, but that's where the training is going to be. The best people at FFL are going to be there teaching you how to do it, how they did it. And all you got to do is get there. We don't charge for the trainings. Become really good at promoting them. Like, like if Liz Boyles bought a $200,000 burger franchise, and we said on the 19th in Nordic or wherever that the top people at that burger franchise were going to be there teaching you how to be the best burger franchisee in the country. The ones that make the most money, all of them are going to be there in one spot. And you got to go. Would Liz find any reason in the world not to go to it or one near her? Like, and the reason why she wouldn't find a reason in the world not to go is because she put $200,000 into it. Therefore, she shall be there. Like all we do is buy leads, you know? Like you don't have that much skin in the game, so it's easy to neglect what you really have at your fingertips when you can go to one of these conferences and hear from the 18 to 25 best people around you doing it the best way, the biggest with the best results with the least amount of time. Like, you know, most predictable results in the proper amount of time, all the people doing it the right way. If you had to replicate that to talk to those 20 people, you'd have to see them all individually, travel all over the place to find them. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to do that. So That's the way I always looked at the events was let's go get better. This is what you'll get from it. This is who you'll meet at it. This is the support you will find there. And this is what you're going to learn and how it's going to make you better. And they do make you better. Like if you want to learn how to sell insurance better, go to one of those events, especially if you're already doing the activity. If you're already doing the activity, here's the mistake. Like, okay, I'm going to wait till I go to the event before I make any phone calls. Don't do that. Make a ton of freaking phone calls, get some no sales, get some sales, get a chargeback or two, get some cancellations, get some people not giving you the bank account information, get some people that say the husband's not there when you call, get all that stuff. Now you have a ton of experience. So when you show up to the training is going to do more for you than it would if you just wait to go to the training, if that makes sense. So it's a living thing, it's a moving thing. Um, it changes as you change. And the kiss of death is thinking you already know it all. Like it's a good way to measure where people really are because the people that say they don't need to go to the training, there's an attitude problem that they don't even know they have, but eventually that's going to blow them out. Like you can never get to a place where you think you already know it all and you don't need it because it'll change on you. The environment will change, the dynamic will change, the way we reach the people changes, the lead types change. It's changing. So you got to stay fresh. You got to get to the stuff. So hopefully that answers it. But I think it's the most important thing that you can do is go to those. So
Absolutely. And that answered my question perfectly. I mean, Trey, you gave everything from like, if you're brand new right now, you never pick the phone up, like now's the time to pick it up because in a couple of weeks, we're going to be at that conference where you're going to have so much hands-on training, learning. And I love how you said, like, it's let's go like us. Like, I need to go just as bad as the brand new agent on this call needs to go, right? And, that goes around the whole entire call. So, just like you said, you're getting around the best people in the industry. And if you can get messy and make mistakes over the next couple of weeks, of course, we're here to help. But when you have that hands-on training and learning right in front of you, it's a much different experience, and it definitely feels like it too. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you guys out in Boston. I know a lot of you are going to be in North Carolina, and Trey, you're going to be here in Natick and Boston with us. And where else will you be?
uh California,
Okay.
maybe Dallas. I haven't decided on Dallas yet, but I'm definitely coming to Boston. I'm definitely going to be in Los Angeles. So if you guys got people in California, let me know.